episode is sponsored by Raise Tech, end-to-end IT solutions for your business growth.
Hey everybody, today we have Chris with us, sitting not on the Agile Couch, but close to it anyways.
A close approximation. We've got a couple of chairs.
It's good enough, I guess. And thanks for joining us. We're in Agile Tour Vilnius 2023. And I thought it's a nice moment to have a chat with Chris, because you'll be in the workshops afterwards, after lunch. Yeah, you'll have 2 sessions.
2 sessions, one on continuous improvement at scale, and then a builder retro workshop.
Okay.
For those that are feeling extra sadistic and want to join 2 sessions with me today.
But it's so nice. We'll have 2 sessions, and I assume many people will join. Maybe 2 very different perspectives of these sessions. One about retrospective, another about continuous improvement, but in reality, actually, both are interconnected.
They are very heavily intertwined, yeah. The continuous improvement at scale talk explores how you can identify systemic issues, not just the local ones. Mm-hmm. How you can then categorize and sort those, how you can prioritize them, and then resolve them through experimentation. Mm-hmm. What I've learned in my years of working in the Agile space is that fundamentally, people don't care about Agile. Leaders don't care about Agile. Customers don't care about Agile.
No one cares about Agile.
Customer doesn't buy Agile. They buy the outcome. They want the thing that makes them feel good, makes their life easier, saves them time. Mm-hmm. Leaders, they're looking for results. They're looking for outcomes. I think a lot of people are tired of hearing about Agile. So the day that just becomes what we do rather than something we speak about all the time, it's probably on its way here. And it's for that reason I focus more on continuous improvement, because it doesn't matter which company you are, what industry you're working in,
it will be always relevant.
Everyone wants to continuously improve in the trajectory, the direction of what they're trying to achieve.
So talking about continuous improvement, as this is your focus, so to say, or your direction as well, to help others to continuously improve. What are the key concepts in general of continuous improvement, or what is important for people to know if they want to seek for continuous improvement, what they need to be aware of?
Well, it's really in the name. Continuous improvement is, funnily enough, continuous. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to wait for a retrospective to do something about something that needs to change. Continuous improvement is about doing it every day, and everyone's involved everywhere. So there's opportunities everywhere in the business to improve. It should involve everyone. It's a team sport, not just a coach or a facilitator. It's not just their responsibility. And every day, you got to practice it every day. You've got to build in continuous improvement into your DNA, the very fabric of how you work. And this is what agility helps bring about, because it brings in a series of feedback loops. The daily syncs, the retrospectives, the planning sessions, they're all feedback loops that enable you and your team to identify where are we right now, relating to where we want to be, and what data is telling us we're on the right track or not on the right track, and where do we need to pivot or adjust or amplify the good things. So all of these feedback loops allows us to course correct, ensure we're on the right track, rather than spending money wastefully, focusing on the wrong thing, spending energy.
That is equal as money.
Exactly.
All right, but talking still about continuous improvement, and I tend to find it that for organizations, it's simply not as easy as it might look like for others. I mean, everyone has its different perspective, context, and once you come to different organization or you ask different people, they might say, but it's really hard to improve. It's really hard to have a change, because ultimately improvement probably is somehow related to the change. There is no probably improvement without change, or you would disagree with that?
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with it. You don't get improvement without changing something. So let's say you're struggling, like you've got something that's going wrong. You're unhappy with your current reality. You've spotted that in a retrospective. Someone's saying, this is wrong, we need to change. And then they don't do anything about it. You know, that they're aware of this problem, but they don't act. You know, they take up an action in a retrospective, but then it just disappears into the ether, isn't delivered upon, gets forgotten about, and they just focus on new features, new features, new features. And that's the definition of insanity, doing the same things over and over, expecting different results. So if we are aware of a problem and we're doing nothing about it, that's a decision. That is a decision. We as a team, we as a company are choosing to not act because our current reality is more comfortable or easier, perhaps, or maybe there's just not strong enough a reason to change, a compelling enough burning platform. Yeah, it's so prevalent. I think a lot of companies struggle with this. And yeah, retrospectives are a wonderful way of identifying where those problems are, of collaboratively co-creating the path forwards with the teams. So you're inviting them to be part of change rather than inflicting change upon them. When you inflict change, that's when you get resistance and frustration.
Absolutely. Then they don't trust you, and you have your own agenda underneath it, but then you create it together. Okay. Uh, then talking about the change by itself, and you said that, I assume that's mostly one of the main reasons organizations or teams don't want to change, because they are feeling that the change might be too big, that their current reality is comfortable for them. So how to get out of that comfort zone into learning, or maybe even sometimes cross into the danger zone, rather than to sit on the couch as we're sitting.
As we're sitting there, relaxing.
Yeah, we're relaxing, but of course it's a bit different perspective. But how for these teams, organizations, to get out of their positions, if there is a way that you see, or it's more like, if you don't want to change, then I cannot help you.
Well, you can say that. It's probably not going to be helpful.
Okay.
Just saying to someone, hey, you don't want to change, so I can't help. It's probably not going to be something someone wants to hear. Perhaps showing different ways of doing things, helping create the experiments with them. Everything's an experiment, right? A bit like Martin Dalmeen saying earlier, right? All these planning, people do a lot of planning, and those plans fail miserably, and everything's an experiment. So have an idea, a hypothesis in your mind. If we do X, if we try and focus more time on improving the quality of our product, our customers will like our product better. We'll therefore get better sales. We can get some real data behind that. And that, when you see that data begin to change, that provides the motivation, the impetus to keep going. So everything's an experiment. Start with an experimentation mindset. Use like a canvas if you need to, an experiment canvas to design the experiment. Think about what the outcome might be and be data focused. Now, the other thing is, I think we focus too much on large scale change, right? So we go, oh, we need to change this, and it's going to be this big bang thing, and it's going to be difficult and complex, but it doesn't need to be. All you're looking for really is improvement, and that improvement could be very small. It could be a marginal gain, a 1% improvement, and that's still better than you were yesterday. There's a great book by James Clear, Atomic Habits. You might be familiar with it, right? And in that book, he breaks down the power of habits. He says that you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems and your habits. So if a team doesn't have habits that are built in around continuous improvement, it doesn't matter how many great goals they have, they're probably not going to achieve them. It's the daily habits that reinforce the behavior you're trying to get. And breaking things down into marginal gains, I've got a technique I use called the marginal gains gauntlet, where you take a thing, an impediment or something, and you break it down into little 1% improvements in the right direction. And that might look at things like, right, where could we save a few minutes of time each day? What tools could we look at that might, make things easier for us? It explores various lenses to take something that's big and chunky, split it into smaller pieces, and then that makes it easier to start doing something because it's smaller, it's less scary, it's easier to fit into the existing priorities.
So start with small, because smaller things are less scary, and smaller experiments actually still might give you the gain that you're looking for into the direction that you were seeing.
Absolutely, and even if it doesn't, you learn. Beauty of experiments. Even if it fails, you learn something. Should we do that again? Okay, maybe not. Maybe we should pivot slightly. Maybe we should amplify this instead. Any experiment will always still result in data, learning. And to me, learning across an organization is one of those powerful assets that a company has. They just don't leverage it properly.
Through continuously improving learning, because obviously through the learning you're getting better at things, and people might not understand it as you're saying. But still, probably once even having these small experiments into the changes that someone is expecting to have a bigger change, let's say, and as you said, it might look scary, let's have it smaller. It sounds for me familiar with, probably you're aware of Toyota Kata, or improvement kata actually, that they built. By having the direction, setting the direction where you want to be sometime in the future, And let's define where we are right now, and very small
Yeah.
step that we can aim for actually going into the forward towards the goal, rather than having a big leap that might result in tragedy, because we need to learn how to get there.
At its core, it's basically just a PDCA cycle, plan, do, check,
Yeah.
adapt. And you start with your current state. Where are we now? Plan an experiment, execute the experiment, measure the results, and then just
Go around.
go round and round and keep improve. It doesn't seem that difficult to do that, but it clearly is. Now, again, what I think is fascinating in a lot of companies is we talk about, hey, we want to learn from one another, and we have these lunch and learns and things like that.
Yeah.
And teams do retrospectives. But let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Shoot.
Let me ask you a question. In a retrospective, what happens in Vegas?
You mean if a retrospective is closed one, or?
Yeah. What happens in Vegas? What's the answer to that question? What happens in Vegas?
Yeah, that happens in Vegas. That's the point. That you need
It stays in Vegas.
keep it there.
Yeah, it stays in Vegas. And we use that rule to protect the team from harm, to maintain psychological safety. And yet, we also want to learn from our mistakes and our failures. So, team one, right? There's two teams. They're both working on AI, because AI is so hot right now, right?
Yeah.
Both working on AI. And team one faces a problem with this tokenization on the API. And they face that in February 2023. They fail, they learn, they fail, they do the retrospective, they got this great lesson, they figure it out. Team two, they encounter the exact same problem a few months later. And they fail also. But why did that happen? Because they don't share their failures.
Yeah, because we are closed.
We're closed, so we protect psychological safety, but as a consequence, we don't leverage the power of our learnings, our failures, our wins. So there's a very simple variation you can do in retrospectives and continuous improvement initiatives, where it's called Chatham House Rule. And it's a variant on the Vegas rules. And instead of not sharing, you do share. However, you remove any attribution to the individual so that they can't be harmed. So we don't know who has said the thing, but we know what has happened. We know they're learning from that. And that's a powerful switch that I think a lot of companies need to make right away.
Yeah, that sounds really great, actually. Not to put yourself into the jar and then close it. I mean, because if there are some really great things that you've shared, that you learned, that you're supposed to share with others as well.
Yeah.
And what I actually as well enjoy, as Martin mentioned, by the way, I think previously we had a chat, that within retrospectives, you share where you are, you share your challenges, you share your roadmaps, of course, so you can share as well with others. Hey, that's where we failed, that's what we learned. It's not needed probably to invite people into retrospective, to say, for psychological safety reason, but it's really a great thing to share with others, and use your advice as well.
Absolutely.
One of the ideas. Chris, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for visiting Vilnius.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to see your updates on social networks, on LinkedIn, and see you in the 2 upcoming workshops, I guess.
See you there.
Thanks.
Cheers.